You know that feeling when someone asks a complex question and you think, I don't know? But then 3 hours later in the shower, the perfect answer comes to you. That delay isn't a bug, it's a feature. And it's proof that your intelligence is far more sophisticated than you realize. You're not slower than everyone else. You're operating on a different frequency entirely. Here's what I know about you. You've convinced yourself you're not that smart. Maybe it started in school when you needed more time to process information, while others seem to have instant answers. Maybe it's because you think in metaphors and connections, while others think in linear logic. Maybe you've been in meetings where the loudest voice wins and walked away thinking, I could have explained that better if I'd just had more time. You consume information differently. You need space to think, to connect dots, to let ideas simmer. But our culture rewards quick thinking, instant responses, the ability to sound smart on command. So you've learned to doubt the very thinking style that could be your greatest strength. You watch productivity videos and feel overwhelmed by systems that assume everyone's brain works the same way. You read about genius habits that feel foreign to your natural rhythms. You've internalized the message that if you don't think like everyone else, you must not be thinking well at all. But what if I told you that your tendency to pause, to need processing time, to think in unexpected directions, what if those aren't limitations? What if they're indicators of a more sophisticated intelligence that our culture has forgotten how to recognize? Here's the truth nobody talks about. We've confused processing speed with intelligence. And it's making brilliant people feel stupid. Neuroscientist Dr. Jerome Kagan discovered something revolutionary about human cognition. He identified two distinct thinking styles. Fast processors who excel at rapid analysis and quick responses, and deep processors who excel at complex pattern recognition and innovative connections. Both are forms of intelligence, but only one gets celebrated in our instant gratification culture. Think about Einstein. He famously said, "It's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with problems longer." He wasn't a fast processor, he was a deep processor. His intelligence emerged not from quick answers, but from sustained contemplation. From his willingness to sit with uncertainty until insights crystallized. Your brain might be wired for what I call background processing, the kind of thinking that happens when you're not actively trying to think. While fast processors excel at conscious analysis, deep processors excel at unconscious integration. Your shower thoughts, your 3 a.m. insights, your sudden clarity during walks, that's your intelligence working exactly as it should. The digital age has created what cognitive scientist Dr. Daniel Kahneman calls System 1 culture, where we reward fast, automatic responses over slow, deliberate thinking. But the problems that matter most, creativity, innovation, wisdom, require system to thinking. The kind of deep, sustained mental effort that can't be rushed. You're not operating slower than everyone else. You're operating deeper, and depth, not speed, is where breakthrough thinking lives. Method 1. The ambient intelligence. Practice your brain is constantly processing information below the level of consciousness. Most people ignore this background intelligence, but you can learn to harvest it. Here's how. When you encounter a complex problem, don't try to solve it immediately. Instead, load your mind with all the relevant information, then deliberately engage in unrelated activities. I learned this from a software engineer who told me her best debugging insights came during her evening runs. She'd spend the day gathering data about the problem, then go for a run without thinking about code at all. By the time she returned, solutions would bubble up effortlessly. The key is the loading phase. You need to consciously feed your mind the raw materials before you step away. Spend 20 to 30 minutes fully immersing yourself in the problem. Read everything relevant. Ask yourself questions. Explore different angles. Then do something completely unrelated. Take a walk, do household chores, engage in light exercise. Your unconscious mind will continue working while your conscious mind rests. This works because your brain has two networks. The focused attention network, active when you're consciously thinking, and the default mode network, active when you're not thinking. The default mode network is where creative connections happen, where distant memories combine with current information to produce insights. But it only activates when you stop trying to force solutions. Method 2. The stupid question strategy. Intelligent people often suppress their questions because they worry about appearing ignorant. But the most profound insights come from questioning assumptions that everyone else takes for granted. Your stupid questions might be doorways to breakthrough thinking. Here's a perfect example. In 1665, young Isaac Newton asked what seemed like a childish question. Why do apples fall down instead of up? Everyone knew that heavy things fall it was obvious. But Newton's willingness to question the obvious led to the discovery of gravity and revolutionized physics. Start keeping a naive questions journal. When you encounter something everyone seems to understand intuitively, ask the obvious question. Why does this work this way? What assumptions are we making? What would happen if the opposite were true? Last month, someone in my community asked, why do we call it work-life balance instead of life-work balance? It seemed like semantics, but it sparked a fascinating discussion about how language shapes our priorities. That stupid question revealed something profound about how we've structured our thinking around productivity. The key is to embrace intellectual humility. The moment you think you're too smart to ask basic questions is the moment you stop learning. Your intelligence isn't threatened by not knowing. It's threatened by pretending to know. It's method 3. The perspective prison break. Most people think intelligence means having the right answers. But true intelligence means having access to multiple perspectives. Your mind is like a camera. You can take better pictures by changing your position than by getting a better camera. Practice what I call cognitive shapeshifting. For any problem or situation, deliberately adopt 3 different viewpoints. The optimist, the pessimist, and the pragmatist. Or try temporal perspectives. How would you view this problem as your past self, current self, and future self? I watched a friend transform her approach to a career dilemma using this method. From her ambitious 30-year-old perspective, leaving her corporate job to freelance seemed risky and irresponsible. From her creative teenager perspective, staying in a soul-crushing job was the real risk. From her imagined 60-year-old perspective, both options were just chapters in a longer story. This multi-perspective thinking revealed options she couldn't see from any single viewpoint. The goal isn't to find the right perspective, it's to expand your repertoire of ways of seeing. Intelligence isn't about thinking harder, it's about thinking differently. Method 4. The teaching to learn amplifier. Here's something counterintuitive. You understand concepts better when you try to explain them to others, even if you don't understand them fully yourself. The act of teaching forces your brain to organize scattered knowledge into coherent patterns. But here's the unconventional twist. Don't just teach to people, teach to imaginary audiences. Explain complex concepts to a child, to an alien, to someone from the 18th century. Each audience forces you to find different analogies, different entry points, different ways of breaking down complexity. I started doing this when studying behavioral psychology. Instead of just reading about cognitive biases, I imagined explaining confirmation bias to my grandmother, then to a medieval peasant, then to someone who'd never heard of the internet. Each explanation revealed different aspects of the concept I'd missed in traditional study. This works because teaching activates what psychologists call liberative processing. Your brain creates multiple pathways to the same information. The more ways you can access a concept, the deeper your understanding becomes. Method 5. The strategic confusion method. This might sound backwards, but intentionally seeking confusion can boost your intelligence. Most people avoid confusion because it's uncomfortable. But confusion is your brain's way of signaling that you're at the edge of your current. Understanding exactly where growth happens. Instead of immediately trying to resolve confusion, sit with it. Ask yourself, what specifically am I confused about? What assumptions am I making that might be wrong? What would I need to understand to make this make sense? I learned this from a philosophy professor who said, if you're not confused, you're not thinking hard enough. He encouraged students to find the point in any argument where they felt lost and explore that feeling rather than pushing through it. Confusion is your brain detecting inconsistencies, gaps in logic, or conflicts between new information and existing beliefs. It's actually a sign of sophisticated thinking. You're noticing subtleties that others might miss. The world needs your kind of intelligence. While everyone else is optimizing for quick answers and instant responses, you're cultivating something rarer and more valuable. Depth, nuance, the ability to see what others miss. Your tendency to pause before speaking isn't hesitation, it's wisdom. Your need for processing time isn't slowness, it's thoroughness. Your questions that others call obvious aren't naive, they're profound. Einstein, Darwin, and Newton weren't celebrated for thinking fast. They were celebrated for thinking differently, for questioning assumptions, for sitting with problems long enough to see them from angles no one else had considered. You have that same capacity. It's not hidden, it's just operating on a frequency that our culture has forgotten how to appreciate. But that frequency is exactly what the world needs more of. Thoughtful analysis in an age of quick takes, deep processing in an age of surface skimming, wisdom in an age of information overload. Your intelligence isn't broken. It's not too slow. It's not inferior, it's different. It's different is exactly what breakthrough thinking looks like. Start with one method from today's video. Give yourself permission to think at your own pace, in your own way. Trust that your shower thoughts are as valid as anyone's conference room insights. Your mind is more sophisticated than you realize. You just need to start treating it that way. What's one question this video raised for you? Don't Google it immediately. Let it marinate. Your background intelligence is already working on it. Trust the process. Trust your mind. Trust your unique way of seeing the world. You're smarter than you think. And it's time you started thinking like it.